creating custom Pokemon for you! Welcome back, everyone, to the show where we select lucky commenters to spin a series of random wheels that give us factors for a Pokemon that we then create just for you. It's gonna be a super fun episode today, y'all. We have 4 amazing custom Pokemon as always, but before we get started, I did just want to remind you of a couple things. First off, if you end up liking today's video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And of course, if you want a custom Pokemon for yourself, all you have to do is leave a comment under this video because I'll be randomly selecting people from this video's comments for the next episode. That's right, everyone who gets a custom Pokemon is just randomly selected from the comments. It's just the most fair that way, but it also makes it way more important to subscribe with the notification bell turned on. Because if you got a custom Pokemon but didn't see the episode, you would never even know you got one. It would just be out in the universe and you would have no clue, which would be an absolute tragedy. Don't let it happen to you. Subscribe now, and without further ado, let's get into the first Pokemon. And this one will be for Gira Moxie. Cool to hear that you make your own Fakemon while you watch my videos. You should send me some. But anyway, Moxie, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be a fossil Pokemon. That's actually really awesome. So now let's spin this wheel to see how many times your fossil Pokemon can evolve, and you got the split evolution. That is actually so rare. That is the first one of the series, a split evolution fossil. That is insane. This one's already super exciting. Now let's see what typing it'll be, besides of course the rock type, and it's the steel type. That's pretty interesting. It's happened before, but it's still cool. And the last step before we see what your Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X factor, and none this time, but your Pokemon's already cool enough. Long ago, there lived a creature that had tons of potential, but never got to use it. Your Pokemon is Inventot, the inventor Pokemon. This Pokemon has an insanely high intelligence and thirst for invention. But unfortunately, during the time period that it lived, there wasn't much to work with, so these talents largely went to waste. However, in the future, when this Pokemon's fossil was revived, it was suddenly surrounded by all sorts of high-tech equipment, causing it to fill with excitement. And seeing this Pokemon's potential, the scientists who revived it decided to give it some raw materials to test what it was capable of. At which point, they made the shocking discovery that given the right tools, this Pokemon could invent its own evolution. Exposing it to a flame schematic would cause it to evolve into Petrodon. Utilizing the power of fossil fuels, kinda messed up when you think about it, has allowed this Pokemon to harness the power of fire, as it now zips around at blazing speed. Exposing it to a wind schematic would cause it to evolve into Turbodon. Utilizing the power of wind allows this Pokemon to take flight, turning this once flightless bird into a commander of the sky. And exposing it to an aqua schematic would cause it to evolve into Submadon. Utilizing a pressurized suit has allowed this Pokemon to survive at even the deepest parts of the ocean, swimming around at speeds even faster than a Barraskewda. And that's gonna do it for today's first Pokemon. This one was absolutely insane. A split evolution fossil Pokemon is ridiculous, and it was super fun to make. It was drawn by Devessa Illustrations on Instagram, so make sure to go check them out. And for the shiny, I did a color palette swap of all 3 of the evolutions, which I thought was cool. But again, this Pokemon was super insane, especially for the first Pokemon of the day, but let's see if we can make something even cooler with today's second Pokemon. And this one will be for Maximilian Holt, and don't y'all worry about commenting late, because you still have a chance. So alright, Max, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be regular. Nothing wrong with that. Now let's see how many times your Pokemon can evolve, and you got 1, which makes you a 2-stage evolution line. Now let's see what typing your Pokemon's going to be. Your first type is going to be the rock type. That is cool. That is my favorite type of all time, if you didn't know. And rock psychic type. That's actually very interesting typing. And the last step before we see what your Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X factor, and none this time. If you ever feel a slight shift in the ground beneath you, it might be an earthquake, or it might just be this creature. Your Pokemon is Tribor, the Tremor Pokemon. These Pokemon love to burrow underground, where they produce a low but psychically charged ribbit sound. And this is mostly pretty harmless, but if large groups of these Pokemon get together, they can cause earthquake-like tremors in the nearby ground. Upon reaching level 45, while knowing the move Earthquake, it would evolve evolve into Crowquake. This Pokemon is incredibly powerful. In fact, it's said that their ribbits can level entire cities due to their overwhelming psychic energy. And you'd think this would be a huge problem in the Pokemon world, but thankfully most of the year they're dormant and don't bother anyone. And that's gonna do it for today's second Pokemon. Anytime we get a rock or ground type Pokemon, I get super excited because earthy designs are always my favorite. And this one was no different. It was super fun to make and I think it turned out amazing. For the shiny, I went with a gray body as well as blue and green eyes to sort of be a reference to gemstones, and I thought it looked nice. But now let's get into the third Pokemon. And this one will be for Caramel Sullivan. Glad you like my video. So alright Caramel, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be regular. That with wrong, nothing there. Now let's see how many times your Pokemon can evolve, and you're going to get one, so we have another 2-stage evolution line. Now let's see what typing your Pokemon's going to be. Your first type is going to be the Grass type. That's good. It's actually a pretty rare type in our region, and Grass Dark type. Cool. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and you do a signature move. Fun. If you're ever walking through the jungle at night, you better pray you don't run into this creature. Your Pokemon is Snappup, the Patient Hunter Pokemon. These Pokemon are known to stay completely still for days on end, waiting for prey to get close before bursting alive and attacking. When exposed to a leaf stone, it would evolve into Crocavour. This Pokemon is a monster with a horrible reputation, as it's known to terrorize small villages by stealing and eating their livestock. Its signature move is Sudden Snap, a move that deals a measly 60 grass-type damage. However, if this Pokemon stayed patient by using a non-damaging move the turn before it used Sudden Snap, then it would deal double damage, making it an unexpected burst of 120 damage. And that's gonna do it for today's third Pokemon. This Pokemon is straight up evil, but I think every Pokedex needs a couple evil Pokemon. What else is the villain supposed to use if there aren't any? And this Pokemon will be on the team of the main villain in our fan-made game, which is pretty exciting. It was drawn by my friend Drake, who's also on YouTube and makes videos about Pokemon fan art, so you should 100% go check him out. And for the shiny, I just try to make it look as scary as possible to continue that whole scary theme. But now let's get into the fourth Pokemon. And this one will be for Charmander Lover 6433. I'm glad you like the new host, Claudzire. I'm sure he appreciates it. So alright Charmander, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you're going to be a Convergent evolution. Cool. And it means that now we'll spin this wheel to see what generation of Pokemon we're making a Convergent for, and it's Gen 1. They don't really need more Convergence, but I guess we're making one anyway. So now let's spin this wheel that has every single Gen 1 Pokemon on it, and we got Arbok. That's actually really interesting. I guess we'll make a Convergent Ekans too. Now let's see what new typing we'll be giving to this Convergent Ekans. Your first type is the Bug type. That's actually pretty weird. A Bug type snake. Not sure how that's gonna work. And Bug Ground type. That's actually surprisingly rare typing in real Pokemon, so that's cool. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and none this time. If you ever cross paths with this Pokemon, the best thing you can do is be completely still. Your Pokemon is Seikans, the blind Pokemon. That's right, these Pokemon are completely blind and can only tell what's around them by sensing slight vibrations in the ground. So if you see one out in the wild, you can try to stay still, but the first time you make any movement, they will attack. At level 22, it would evolve into Snailacey. These Pokemon are incredibly large and pretty much spend all of their time underground, waiting to sense prey moving on the surface before bursting out from the ground and swallowing them whole. And that's gonna do it for today's fourth Pokemon. Always fun to make a regional variant, especially for a Pokemon like Arbok that's been around for so long but has kind of been forgotten about recently. It was drawn by The Paneo. Please make sure to go check him out. And for the shiny, of course, we had to do a callback to the original Ekans color palette because like all the shiny regional variants do that. That's gonna do it for today's episode, y'all, but don't go yet. I have some pretty important updates about the channel that I'd love for y'all to stay in here. First off, I want to say sorry for the slow upload schedule of the long form videos. My channel just blew up so fast past to the point where like I wasn't ready to upload as consistently I wanted to yet. I feel like I've been going through all the small YouTuber problems while having a pretty large channel, so it's been pretty weird. But I've recently started working with editors, so hopefully we get uploads out a lot more consistently, and hopefully the quality increases as well. It's really exciting for me because I'm really looking forward to getting y'all more content out on a way more consistent basis, and with less time dedicated to editing, I'll be able to do a lot more cool stuff, like working on the fan-made game, which has been incredibly hard while also making all my own videos. It's been pretty much impossible to ever even work on. And live streaming, I'm looking to get into that too, probably working on the game while live streaming. I think that'd be cool. Maybe we can watch videos at the same time or something. I think that'd be fun. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is I'm really dedicated to keeping this channel going and improving the quality every single time. This isn't just like a fad series that's gonna like do really well and then fall off. Like, I'm really dedicated to keeping this going at full power for as long as possible. So yeah, make sure to keep supporting the series because it's not going anywhere, and I really appreciate you all for watching this episode of it. If you want to see more, there's a bunch in the playlist, and if you want a custom Pokemon for yourself, make sure to leave a comment before you go. I'll see you all in the next episode, but until then, peace.